So if your favorite crew member on your favorite cruise ship messes up at his job, should they get yelled at? Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cruise News Show. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news. Man, I was almost yelling right there. Well, let me tell you the story that's been dominating the cruise news. Go through this exercise. Take a second, open up a browser, open up Google, just type cruise news and hit search, and tell me in the comments what the first news story is that comes up. I would bet that that's a news story about Tom Cruise yelling at crew members on the Mission Impossible set. I don't know what number Mission Impossible, but this story has been dominating over the last few days, and it brings up an interesting conversation. In the modern paradigm, in this day and age, should superiors or should people that are at a higher status in the hierarchy of an organization, should they be yelling at the underlings? Should you be yelling at your direct report? And more interestingly, it's a Tom Cruise story, but it could be a cruise ship story. How does that work on a cruise ship? So I've got a few things to unpack. I'm going to tell you about Tom Cruise freaking out, going ham on his crew members. I'm going to talk a little bit about leadership styles in the modern paradigm, and then we're going to talk about what crew members endure on a cruise ship. It should be interesting. Track along and let's get right into the show. So first up, the Tom Cruise story. Tom Cruise going above and beyond to try to make movies during the pandemic. I mean, that's the long and the short of it. That's the Reader's Digest. He rented out a Hurtigruten ship to put crew on to keep them isolated, and then he stumbled upon a couple crew members working in close proximity over a computer, not socially distanced. I don't even think they were masked up, and he just lost his mind. I mean, he's yelling the F-bomb at them, talking about how they're the gold standard, how you can tell that he feels a huge responsibility for keeping the cruise business going. There's a Freudian slip. You can tell he feels a huge responsibility for keeping the film business going, which is to him a cruise business, his business, and he feels like it's on his shoulders, and that his crew should be responsible for making it happen. Threatens the crew members with their job. He gives them a good tongue lashing, old school, get in your face, yell at you, yell F-bombs at you for making a mistake. And there's been mixed reactions on the internet. Some people saying, yeah, I mean, it's a crazy time. You gotta be strict with the rules, and these people needed to be called out. Other people going, well, wow, it's crazy. This is mega rich millionaire superstar actors just yelling at a couple underlings trying to do their job. There's that aspect of the argument, and it's interesting. What do you think? Should Tom Cruise be yelling at those people? We can talk about that in the comments. But let's talk about leadership in the modern paradigm. I have a master's degree in strategic leadership. I've spent a lot of time learning and reading about leadership. And just a quick simplistic breakdown. If you look at my dad, I'm almost 50 years old. My dad was born in the 40s, and his leadership style was very much command and control. He came from a time where that was the way things were done. You went to your job, your boss told you what to do. If you screwed up, your boss yelled at you, and you just had to take it because you were happy to have a job. The loyalty contract was there between corporations and the employee. They're going to yell at you, but they're going to keep you employed for long periods of time, and you just say yes and go on with it. Now, as time has gone on, you've seen that loyalty contract between employer and employee dissolve a little bit. People tend to change jobs more frequently, and there is a less tolerance for just getting yelled at by some other adult. Leadership has changed. Let's just put it like that. And where we find ourselves in the modern paradigm, where we find ourselves in today's leadership style, is a more people-centric. The effective leader these days, instead of using power as the capital to lord over their employees, they now use empathy, influence, emotional intelligence to connect with their employees and to motivate people to work for them, opposed to just telling them what to do. That's the long and the short of it. And so that's why you see a lot of people outraged at Tom Cruise saying this is not an effective way to lead those people just by yelling at them, that you got to connect with them on a different level. And there are some things in his rant that do speak to the common interest that they both share. Let's keep this business going. You have jobs because we're making movies. So there's components in there that he could have used, probably empathy, emotional intelligence. He could have used that form of leadership, connecting with people, getting buy-in. He could have got that done without the yelling, but I just got to interrupt all this hippy-dippy, mamby-pamby influence as the capital of leadership BS. And let me tell you what, if you really want to do something right now that can help everybody, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Yeah, I've been watching you not subscribe. Hit the subscribe with the notification bell on, and then that way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. Do it! Was that too much? Thanks for subscribing. Yelling, but it's the yelling that we remember. And it made me think, what happens on cruise ships? What's the setup there? And if you think about it, it's kind of a militaristic setup. There, there's officers with ranks and crew members, that kind of thing. But just because that's the organizational profile of cruise ships, it does not mean that the command and control style is in place. Personally, I've never heard a superior yell at a crew member on a cruise ship. I don't know if it happens. I don't know if it happens out of the sight of guests, but I would be interested if you're a crew member out there. Is that the way it works on a cruise ship? Have you ever gotten a tongue lashing? Have you ever been cussed out by your boss? If you're a crew member, leave a comment. You don't have to be specific. We don't want to get anybody in trouble. Or does it follow a different process? Now, I did do some research, and I found a couple articles talking about discipline on cruise ships. And what I gather from this is there's some infractions that will immediately get you fired, and there's some infractions that will put you into some sort of process of, I'll share the whole thing with you. But interestingly, what do you think could get a crew member fired? Here's a few items. I will leave a link to the articles I was looking at in the first comment of this video. This is under misbehaviors. Most cruise lines have a similar system in place for disciplinary action. There are certain misbehaviors which call for immediate dismissal. Some of them are theft, gambling on board, tampering with the firefighting equipment, fights with fellow crew members or guests, sexual harassment, and being drunk. I could see you getting fired for all of those things, but what about other things? What about if you just don't do your job well, if you're late for work? What are some of the process? Here's a framework that's been outlined on cruiseshipjobs.com for the disciplinary action. They talk about progressive disciplinary levels: verbal counseling, informal written warning, formal written warning, HR review, and then the master's hearing. That's like 4 steps before you appear before the captain. I've made the boss mad. I've made employees mad. I've lost my cool. I've raised my voice. Very rarely does that happen, but like everybody else, I'm human. That happens from time to time. But my default leadership style is really that empathetic, try to get buy-in, try to tell people what's going on in a way where they want to be a part of it. And I've had some success with that. That tends, again, to be my default style. And could you imagine having to live with the mad boss 24/7? It's got to be super challenging if you're in this disciplinary process on a cruise ship where you're being watched all the time, where you live right there on board. I don't know. I tell you what, we've said it before, crew members are some of the hardest working people in any profession. Then you lay discipline on top of that. It's interesting. I'd love to hear your stories. If you're a crew member, leave a comment below. A question for the rest of us: when's the last time the boss got into your hiney? When's the last time you got ripped a new one verbally? Has it been in this decade, or are the times a-changing? And what do you think about all this Tom Cruise stuff? That's the Cruise News Show for today. Thanks for watching the show. Please show your support by hitting the like button. This is Tony with Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.